Hey guys, I'm Bruce and you're watching the Wannabe Free channel. This is the first video in a series where I'm going to be turning a Northern Tools trailer into a DIY overland trailer for car camping. Let's get to the video. The Ironton 40-inch by 48-inch utility trailer. So the trailer, it's the smallest one that I saw that they made, and it comes in two boxes. I also bought a spare tire. These are 12-inch tires. This trailer weighs 150 pounds, not including the spare tire or the plywood box that I'm going to build on it. Okay, in this Ironton 40 by 48 trailer kit, I've got the two boxes disassembled in all the parts. So in the one, you've got the two tires, wheels, and hubs, and they're all kind of connected together. You've got the 1 7/8 hitch, I believe it's 1 7/8, two sets of leaf springs, a couple of pretty stout metal fenders. They're much more sturdy than I had thought. And then in that box sitting on the fenders is the light kit. And then another box just full of the nuts and bolts. This looks pretty straightforward also. You've got a kit here with longer bolts, some U-bolts and brackets. So this is for mounting the axle to the trailer. And then you have 4 of these brackets. 3 here, one's underneath the tongue so I can brace it up there. And then 4 of these brackets for mounting the leaf springs. You've got a couple safety chains, hooks, and bolts to bolt those on with. And then just a bag of bolts. And just first appearance, it looks to me as though all of these nuts and bolts are all the same size. And those are for putting the frame together, which is nice. They're all the same. You got a couple little brackets in here. I think that those, if I glance in the instructions, it looks like those are part of the brackets that go in here for the slipper springs, for the leaf springs. And then in the other box, in the longer, skinnier box, you've got the axle, which is sitting on top of those tires, and then 6 longer pieces of iron. Now, these are much more stout than I had thought, which is good. I thought they were much flimsier than what they actually are. Nice powder coat finish on them. You've got the 3 center pieces, the 2 sides, and the tongue. You're building this initially upside down, so we're looking at the bottom of the trailer. So I'm going to set up the time lapse, start putting bolts in to get it all bolted together and laid out, and I'm going to square it up with angle measurements from corner to corner before I tighten everything down. Well, I managed to get the leaf spring hangers, leaf springs, and axle all bolted to the trailer. Everything about this is bolt together. There's no drilling, shouldn't be any drilling required. So far I haven't had to do any modifications to the holes that came on the trailer as it was. The axle and these axle mounting plates, these steel plates underneath that hold these U-bolts, they both have holes in the top of the axle here where it touches the leaf spring. And on these brackets, they also have a hole and an alignment pin. So you just cannot get that on there incorrectly. It lines up. These are nice and parallel with the leaf springs are parallel with the sides of the trailer. And the axle is 90 degrees to that. If you square it up, the frame, and then square the the tongue, measuring corner to corner, and make the measurements the same before you tighten everything down, it should be pretty straight and pretty straightforward actually. So now I'm going to put the parts on for the wheel. So
This just comes with some bubble wrap on it and some tape on the ends of the axle to kind of protect it during shipping, I suppose. Get this ripped off of here. And it has a, I think it's called a castle nut, and a big washer that comes on it. So take that off. I'm looking at this, and they did a pretty good job packing the bearings with grease. The race could use a little more grease, and of course this axle could use some grease. So I've got my grease gun out. I'm going to add what I think needs to be added as far as grease so it's adequate. That's one of the main things that goes wrong with trailers, not just these Northern Tool or Harbor Freight trailers, but people running these bearings dry of grease, and then you end up with problems. One thing I like to do when I'm traveling, when I stop for gas or a restroom break or something, I'll just come back and put my hand on the rim, and it shouldn't feel hot. If it's hot, or if it's so hot you can't touch it, you're burning up these bearings most likely. Anyway, that's just something I like to do. These actually come with a little grease fitting nipple for greasing the inner bearing. I don't even know if there's an inner bearing or if it's just a bushing. I'll look into that a little bit more as I get to greasing this up. But this type of fitting is the type where you use a needle. Poke the needle into the fitting and then you can grease it up. And there's a couple of big holes in there where you can see where the grease pours in. I don't think it's a bearing. I think it's just a bushing. So I'm going to grease this up real good before I slide this on there. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.